Hello everyone, this is Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from the Double Wide in Apple Valley, California. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about apportionment. It's a big word, but apportionment is how we determine how many representatives are in the House of Representatives.
Right, in each state, right?
Yeah, it was originally in the Constitution. It was amended by the 14th Amendment and some legislation. We'll get into that, okay? So we saw a headline from experts on how illegal immigration could have a major impact on House seats and the electoral, and therefore the Electoral College. So we want to talk about this. So the 14th Amendment changed how it's apportioned. In the second clause, second section, section 2, it says, quote, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. In the that's end quote. In the Constitution, it said free persons, and then 3/5 of all other persons. So they took that out, right? We had the opportunity to state citizens instead of persons, but we did not do this. All right. In 1929, the Permanent Apportionment Act was passed by Congress, fixing the number of seats in the House of Representatives at 435, 1929. Right? That number.
That's kind of what we've been running at, right?
Yes.
Up until.
Yeah, well, that number increased to 437 when Hawaii and Alaska came on board, right, for the House of Representatives. Given the fixed size of the House, each state's congressional delegation changes as a result of population shifts. Population goes up, over here it goes down.
Yeah, we've seen that in our state.
It shifts, with other states either gaining or losing seats, but based on the census results. Each state is then responsible for designing the shape of its districts. That's why you have redistricting.
Gerrymandering.
Because of the population centers.
Yeah.
After the 2020 census, California and New York each lost one seat in the House. New York just by 89 persons. This shows the fragility of each state's seats. It reminds me of Fragile from the Christmas movie. Fragile. It's Italian.
Okay.
On Biden's first day in office, he signed an executive order, one of 30, mandating that illegal immigrants are counted towards the U.S. Census. Now follow this. Electoral votes for presidential elections are based on how many representatives in Congress each state has. We know it's a total of 437, and 100 for the Senate, which equals 537 votes total. That 100 for the Senate is not going to change unless a new state comes in to the Union.
Right.
Those numbers do not change because of the Apportionment Act.
Or they count the other states that President Obama and all the other people have visited, right? The other 6 or 7 states, right? 57, isn't that what Obama said? He visited 57 states. Yeah.
Now I'm catching what you're pitching.
Yeah.
Okay.
We know it's 50 and we know it's 100 in the Senate. So
right.
That's a good figure.
Those numbers do not change because of the Apportionment Act. So if New York and California lost a seat to Florida and Texas, that means 2 electoral votes from blue states went to red states, right?
Well, or at least
what we think.
The population, however they turn
well,
out.
Florida and Texas got each one up, and
right.
California, New York got one down. So that means
right.
more people, and they could have come from anywhere in the United States, but
right.
people were lost in New York and California and gained right, and they could have came from anywhere in the United States. All right.
And we know why they've moved, right? Why New York and California, they're losing. Yeah.
Okay, each state has a winner-take-all for its electoral votes. So that means it's not apportioned by the vote in the state, right? If a Democrat gets the most votes, it's a winner. They get all the electoral votes for that state.
Yeah, I think California is 54, I believe.
Yeah, it's something high.
It's very high. It's the highest,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So what? How does that affect me? Well, you say illegals are being shipped to sanctuary cities. Where are they going?
California, New York, Illinois.
Yeah, large population centers, right?
Yep.
I would bet some Houston. Boston,
Los Angeles,
Mass,
San Francisco, even San Diego has turned kind of blue over the year. Over the years, it's it used to be a very, very red and right-leaning city.
Yeah, when I was researching this Apportionment Act, the Speaker of the House was from Connecticut. Speaker of the House from Connecticut.
Yeah.
You don't see that today.
No.
Yeah. So this means that those states could have more persons, we're not talking citizens, during the 2030 census. Remember, the electoral votes do not change, which means red states could be losing seats while blue states gain seats because of that busing to sanctuary cities, right?
Yeah.
But I say could because anything can happen between now and 2030, right?
Sure.
So what happens if Biden is reelected, right? That we could see 10 million to 20 more million illegals crossing the border.
In
right?
a year.
In a year. Oh, a year. 10 million in a
Oh,
year.
absolutely.
Huh.
Absolutely. If
Well, I
he's
guess I was
reelected-
conservative then.
Yeah, you are conservative.
Yeah. So the average district is about, across the United States, is about 500,000 persons. So 20 million plus the already 10 million from 2021 to now that have poured in, that's 30 million, conservative, I guess, is up to 60 seats being adjusted. Few seats here, few seats there, take them out from over here, right? And then if people are fleeing, bad policies, it might be that the illegals are coming in and then other people are leaving because of bad policies.
So the population doesn't change. It kind of stays the same, right?
Well, population?
Persons, right? You're talking about persons.
Yeah, not 30 million though.
Well,
I mean,
let's hope not.
well, we're going to take a look at births and deaths. So
Okay.
We'll take a look at that. If a Republican is elected, illegals could be deported and construction of the wall completed, right? Most certainly Biden's executive order would be reversed about counting illegals on the census, right? Remember when Sean Hannity kept pounding it and telling us that if Biden's elected, we'll have open borders, right? And he was talking about, the healthcare and stuff. He should have went further and explained about the electoral college. That's really important. The Dems wanted to rearrange that electoral college or eliminate it.
Yeah, they wanted to eliminate it.
Yeah, so now they found a workaround. Get more persons into the United States.
Right.
This is a major issue that needs to be tracked, not just because of siphoning taxpayer dollars, but in changing the electoral college.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to take a look at the populations in 2012, 2016, 2020, births, deaths, and how people voted, right? We're going to do that now. Staggering. In 2012, the population was 316.6 million persons. There were 3.95 million births. There were 2.54 million deaths, a net gain in population of 1.4 million. Remember, babies, they don't vote. The dead vote, but babies cannot vote, right? So
Not yet.
Not yet, you're right. 126.9 million persons voted in 2012. Obama received 65.9 million votes. Remember that number. Mitt Romney received 61 million. Total votes were 40% of the population.
Okay.
40% of the population. Okay, 2016, the population was 327.2. Went up a little bit. There were, in 4 years, there were 3.95 million births. That's more. There were
But they still can't vote.
But they still, 2.74 million deaths. That's a lot more. Almost, it's a lot more. A net gain of 1.21 million persons. Again, babies could not vote in 2016, right? So 128.9 million persons voted. That's about the same. Trump received 63 million. Clinton received 65.9 million. Remember? Clinton gets 64.9.
She got
2012.
more popular vote, but she didn't win the states with the high electoral college votes.
Yeah. And remember, Obama got 65.9 million too in 2012, right? Almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
almost.
That's an interesting figure.
Total votes were less than 40%, about 39.4%. So it was a little bit drop, right, in the population.
Which is about normal, right? I mean, we just said that the 2016, you said?
Yeah.
So, and then, so it's around that. Yeah, it's around 40% usually.
Of the population, yeah.
Right.
So in 2020, there were 329.5 million persons, went up 2 million, right? There were 3.6 million births, that's more. There were 3.43 million deaths, probably thanks to Chicago, right? That's a lot. It's a lot of deaths.
And COVID.
A net gain in population of 200,000 persons. 200,000, not million. So the death rate is going to we're going to see what's happened in 2024 if the death rate surpasses the birth rate, right? Again, babies cannot vote. 155.5 million persons voted 2020. Biden received 83.1 million, Trump received 74.2 million. That is 47.2% of all persons voted. A shift of 8% is staggering.
That's you're right. That's an amazing figure.
Was the political
increase.
climate so explosive that 26 million or 8% came out to vote?
Yeah,
you
I don't
had
buy
some.
it.
You found some research.
Yeah, so I found an article back from December of 2020, which was just a month and a half after the election,
right?
Almost 2 months.
Yeah,
and
votes were still coming in.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, they stated that there were 133 million registered voters in the U.S.
On the books.
133 million. So we had roughly 74.8 million people voted for Trump, right?
81.
And 81 million voted for
Biden.
That's 155 million. So that's 22 million more voters that were registered to vote in the U.S. And this is from the USA Today. So this is not a right-leaning publication. This is a center, maybe even far left.
How do you vote if you're not registered to vote?
Where did those other 22 million votes come from? Where do they come from?
Could it? Let me. I'm going to pontificate here.
Alleged?
Prognosticate. I'm going to allege here. Okay. So were suitcases brought out from underneath tables and then shoved through the counting machine? After somebody pulls a fire alarm thing and people split?
Well, there was a lot of investigation about that, and somewhere 22 million votes had to come from. I mean, where did they come from? If they weren't registered, how did they vote?
22, that's...
20, that's a lot of people.
How many of registered voters? That's
133 registered voters.
Yeah, so that's more than 10%. That's like 15%.
Yeah,
like
15 to 18% probably.
Yeah. So, man... So it's either people who aren't documented as voters are voting, right? Like some cities opened up, like San Francisco, Chicago. We're going to let them vote for illegals vote for local elections. You can't tell us what to do. We're going to do for our local. Maybe they voted federal.
They slipped through. I don't know.
Maybe they slipped through.
I don't know. But that and I know we've mentioned in some of our past discussions about dead people voting.
Yeah, but dead people could be on the roll, but some dead people might not be on the roll call because they're not cleaning it up.
Yeah, that's true.
We talked about that.
True.
That's subversion.
So maybe half of the 22 million were, well, no, they're not registered. So
well, no, look at the old folks' home, right? Maybe some of those aren't registered voters. Most of them probably are, and some of them might not have voted 4 years ago. So we're closing the gap here, but still. I mean, double counting
and the figures that were
undocumented,
and the figures that we've just talked about here, it's usually around 40% of the registered voters, right?
No, of the population.
Population.
Yeah.
Population.
So that's strange. 2012,
that's still more, though.
2016, 65.9 million votes for Democrats, right? 16 and 12 and 16. In 20. 81.3, that's a 23% increase. It was that polarized. While Republicans had 61 and 63 million in 12 and 16, and then 74.2 in 20. That's a 17.8% increase.
And the increases that they had when President Obama was elected and then reelected, those numbers were good numbers, I thought, for the Democrats, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then so why was Joe Biden so polarizing to get another?
No. Trump was polarizing. People didn't like Trump, so maybe the independents voted for Biden.
Okay, but
some of it.
But what was the big draw? What was the big draw for Joe Biden to get all those extra votes?
Well, we know with the ballot harvesting, there's been frauds. Like Wanda, she's still out walking around, and she was ballot stuffing in New Jersey. Right, and then that other dude that
we had those people in Arizona.
He proudly falsifies mail-in ballots. He was on Jesse Waters, and Johnny was interviewing him. He told Johnny, "Get the hell out of my face." Yeah, so something wonky's going on.
I know the numbers just
And
don't add up.
it's justified to, but these things are done at local levels. It's not federal. But what I'm thinking is there needs to be an amendment, maybe a voting amendment to change that language from persons to citizens.
Well, and I think we need to get voter ID.
Voter ID. You have to have some
need to-
photo ID, and mail in only if you're out of the state.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk
military people.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to Jay Obernolte. I'm going to send something over to him. He's our congressman, and I'm going to tell him let's try and get a bill or an amendment,
something.
a new Apportionment Act, right?
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen between
been a
now
century.
and November, but
No,
something needs to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out of control.
But we could try and push it through now that the Senate is in disarray, and because it's almost even in the Senate, and then the House, we've got the House. It's just Biden would have to veto it, and then we'd have to run it through again. And if it goes through again, he can't veto it.
Over on that video.
All right, folks, we're glad that you joined us. Thank you. It was a spirited discussion.
Interesting discussion.
Yeah. So if you liked what you saw, click subscribe. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Have a good day. Thank you.